Okay, in this lesson we're going to start talking about how to use some of Photoshop's filters to do all kinds of fancy things. So first off, I'm going to go ahead and make a new file and paste into it an image I've already copied. So I've got a surfer theme going here, that same image you see right there in front. So I'm going to go to File, New. It remembers what's in the clipboard. Paste something in there, which is what's in the clipboard, and then I'm ready to go. Now you're welcome to clone this out or crop it if you want to, eliminate any other stuff. But our main goal is to have you practice the techniques that we're going to describe, which are using filters. So you really have two ways to get going on this thing. You guys have learned a little bit about making selections, so we just want to remind you got two options on that. So you might be fortunate enough sometimes to be able to use the magic wand to grab a big section of what you want to use. We've kind of described the magnetic lasso being a pretty helpful tool as well, especially when you're trying to isolate something that's on a pretty challenging background. So in this one I might start with this one. Probably sure you can't see that very well at this point, but let me go ahead and get to the main idea. It's really going to be about making selections and then using filters, which you've done before. So it's not going to be anything new, but this time you got to pick your own original image, and you're going to hopefully shoot for something that will be a little bit different than a traditional photograph when you're all done. It'll hopefully look more like a painting or something. So I made a pretty quick selection, with the magnetic lasso tool. I want to remind you, if you're not really a big fan of using Shift or Option to add these selections or take away from them, remember you have this new tool called Quick Mask, bottom left corner of your toolbar, and then that allows you to go back and kind of fine tune your selection. So again, if you want to paint with white, I'm going to paint solid white here and try to get part of the surfboard that I missed here, and I can kind of see a little bit of what's going on there. So, but I'm trying to make a nice selection of that area. And then once you get the selection made, then it's going to basically get back to where you're going to try to add a filter, any filter you want, to that section. So the assignment's going to be pretty easy. You're going to try to isolate hopefully 3 or 4 different parts of your image, similar to what we did on that one with the swan, or the excuse me, was an egret. And as you get into the filtered part, you're going to have to kind of decide what filters are going to work on what section. But we want you to use, hopefully 3 or 4 different areas. Now this image that I've chosen here is a little bit tough. I might have wanted to put a filter on just the surfer, and then a different one on the surfboard, and then maybe the wave. But I'm hoping for 3 or 4 different ideas. Let me also remind you about one other thing that you can do too. You can go to Select Inverse. So I've already got the surfer selected. If I do the inverse, that'll give me the background, and then I can apply a filter to that. But so my only problem that I have in my demo here is I probably didn't have enough variety in my options here. But remember, once you've got your selection made, then you can go ahead and try out these different ideas. So that's pretty much the general concept we want you to try out, and then hopefully when you're all done, you're going to end up with something that looks more like a watercolor or some kind of impressionistic painting versus the traditional photograph. So here's what I came up with, and then here's the image that I borrowed. So granted, I didn't really do a lot of crazy filters on it. I could go back and try a few other ones here. I could step backwards where I can still have the selection, and I can keep trying other ideas. But try to find an image that has 3 or 4 different ideas. Practice making selections. Apply filters. Get another feel for that, and then we're going to get into other projects soon after this.